1/3. I said it correctly, just didn't write it correctly. Times 10 kilograms times 2 meters.
Where's 1/3? Oh.
This is not kinetic energy, this is just moment of inertia. $13.3.
$13.3 watts.
That's my next question. What are those units?
Kilograms per meter?
Nope.
Is it kg?
Closer.
Square.
Yeah. Per means division, and there's no division going on here. Kilogram meter squared, which doesn't reduce to anything. It's just a kilogram meter squared. Let's take a solid ball, a solid sphere. Yeah, there's really no way to draw a ball that know from the drawing whether it's solid or hollow, except unless I tell you. So it's a solid sphere. Mass is equal to 8 kilograms, and the radius is, let's make it big, 1.5 meters.
Okay, so I have to ask, what is this I actually getting us? Cause I'm kinda lost, what is it?
What does it actually mean?
Yeah.
I was gonna do that next, for what it actually means. But I'll do a partial sneak preview here. Actually, let's finish this one first, and then let's talk about at least a quick bit into what it tells us. So how would you find this value of the moment of inertia?
Solid sphere about CG. Solid sphere about
Yep.
CG.
So 2/5 m r squared. 2/5 times 8 times 1.5 squared. Why did I pick a decimal? $720.
Yeah. That's.
That seems too big. It's 1.5. You did 15.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess 7.2. Then
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 7.2.
7.2.
Oh, I didn't see the dot.
It was in stealth mode. And that would be kilograms meter squared. All right, so let's actually connect it with something else before we get into sort of another way of looking at it. I have a disk here. I want to store energy in it. If all the mass is on the outside, it's generally called a flywheel, but I just have a disk right here. I want to store energy into it, so it's called rotational inertia also because the greater the rotational inertia, the more resistant it is to change. So if I get something with a great deal of moment of, something with a high moment of inertia or high rotational inertia, it will maintain that for a much longer time. So Mass of, stick with numbers that will work out nicer. R is 2 meters. And so my moment of inertia is 1/2 times 4 times 2 squared, which is 2 times 4, which is 8 kilogram meters squared. That's just more of the same. I recognize we haven't actually tried to address what Hunter has asked. So during the peak hour, or the electric companies, power plants are producing energy. And during peak hours, they need extra energy. Now, there's a grid network within North Carolina and a couple of the neighboring states, so that if any area needs additional energy, if another power plant has some extra, they will send it over, and it reduces the number of blackouts and brownouts. But another way of storing energy, instead of borrowing it from the neighboring state or buying it from the neighboring state, is that you can store it in something physical like this. So I'm making up numbers here. I have 1,000 joules of extra energy that do not need to be used, and so I want to store it. If I'm going to store it in the flywheel, or in the wheel here, how fast does that thing need to rotate? Well, I know that the kinetic energy of the wheel there, of the disk, is 1/2 I omega squared. Right now it's just sitting there, and I'm going to get that thing moving, and so I'm going to take that full 1,000 joules of energy, and I'm going to get that disk moving. And so 1/2 times 8 times omega squared is equal to 1,000. So 4 omega squared is equal to 1,000. Omega squared is equal to 250. And so omega is whatever the square root of 250 is.
$15.81.
Units?
Is it joules?
It is not joules.
Oh, it's,
What units did he use for omega earlier?
Kilogram meter squared?
That's for the I part. That's I. Did somebody say it? I missed it. MR? No. Trying to think what MR would be, or where you saw that. Oh, no, looking for units. The MR squared, or those are variables right there. Do you have the? Okay. When we started to do the example where we were breaking the door up, I gave you a mass, I gave you an angular speed, and I gave you a width. Did anyone write that down? It was 12 something.
12 rad over 5, or rad over
That was an S.
Oh.
Radians per second.
Kinetics times what?
Radians per second.
Okay. Got it.
As long as I start with nice units here, I got kilogram meter squared for moment of inertia. K is in joules, it's gonna come out radians per second. So that thing is gonna be spinning around a little more than 2.5 times every second. So by adjusting what I'm actually spinning around, I can affect how fast the thing actually needs to spin. So if I took the exact same thing, so that was a disc, so this time instead of using a disc, what I want to do is I want to take my 4 kilograms and I want to move it all to the outside. So it's basically like this, except I've got 4 kilograms all around the outside. What shape am I dealing with if I put it all on the outside? Yeah. And what's the formula for a hoop spinning about its center? The normal axis.
1 equals r squared.
NR squared. So if I change my disk to a hoop, disk becomes hoop. I is equal to mr squared, which is 4 times 2 squared, which is 16 kilogram meter squared. So now, how fast does the hoop need to go? Well, I got 1,000 joules of energy, and that's going to be equal to 1/2 times I, which is 16, times omega squared. So now omega squared is equal to 1,000 divided by 8 is 125.
Yes.
And so omega is 11 point something.
$11.18.
Units.
Radians per second.
Yep. Let's see if I can actually write that more legibly. 11.18 radians per second. Slightly more legible. So I don't need to, it doesn't need to spin as fast. Still uses the same amount of energy. The other advantage of the fact that it has twice the moment of inertia or twice the rotational inertia is that it's going to maintain that speed much better than this one will. Now, I'm not pretending that that has answered all your questions about it, but the next thing will give a little bit more insight, I hope. Other questions at the moment, before we get into the betting?
We get into the what?
The betting, betting, gambling for no money.
Right here, on the one you just finished, the 125 equals, I saw that, but, okay, the end there, yeah, how do we get that? 11.18?
Omega squared is 125, and so omega is just the square root of that. While you're contemplating other questions, let me grab the board. Or figure out where they put the board. Not the one I wanted, but it'll do. Hopefully it doesn't block your view too much, Zoe. I'm putting this here because I don't want to go chasing it. We're gonna race. I have certain shapes here, things that will roll. So we'll start out with 2 hoops. I'm not going to click everything because that's going to take way too long, but hopefully enough. So the question I start out with is, If I raise these two things down the board, which one will get to the bottom first? I do want everyone, even if you don't know why, I want you, everyone in here to vote on your favorite.
How are you gonna roll?
Hopefully better than that one. Just gonna roll it like that. They'll be side-by-side competition. So getting to the bottom first, we got the big hoop, we got the small hoop, then there's a tie, and then there's an homage to a Green Arrow cartoon of my youth. They both explode on the way down. All right, have an opinion. I'm not gonna ask you to justify it yet. Just have an opinion.
Which is heavy?
Pardon?
Which is heavier?
I would say this is, but I think this is aluminum and this is not. I think that might be steel. Not that one then.
Oh, yeah.
You'll agree that the volume's heavier?
Yeah.
Okay. Who says the big hoop will get down first? One lone soul willing to brave it. Who says the small hoop will make it down first? Who says it's gonna be a tie? So there's two people who did not vote, or I did not see the subtle gesture that was made. Again, next time, I expect everyone to vote. All right, so let's find out what happens. I need to start them off at the same place, so let me grab a ruler as a starting gate. I will tend to do it twice in case there's some bias in the board. Ideally, this is a flat board, but it's a little bit warped. And yes. Were you expecting it that close? Let's try the other one, see if part of that was the board bias. But over there is feeling very vindicated. Feeling as good?
No.
It was roughly a tie both times. There does seem to be a little bit of bias in the board, and also when I take it away, I need to take it away that direction. If I pull it this way, the one closer to me has a slight disadvantage. But it was close enough to a tie. There obviously is a clear difference in the weights between the two. I think, Hunter, you'll agree? A clear difference in the diameter or the radius of it. So let's say two things that are pretty much the same radius. I'm pretty sure that's solid as opposed to hollow. And then we have the hoop. Have an opinion. I'm not asking you to justify it. Well, I guess it's hoop. There we go. Ball and hoop and tie. Let's just, for right now, just assume they will not burst into flames all the way down. I think they weigh roughly the same. You expressed confidence last time, didn't you?
This was a tad heavier.
That's okay. All right. The ball. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, unanimous. All of you think the ball's gonna make it down first. Anyone changing their mind? I'm not trying to force it, I just, sometimes people change their mind. All right. Let's see if I can do this without the ball falling off. The ball made it down first. Let's see if we switch positions, what will happen. Come on. He doesn't want to. There we go. Ball weighted down first both times, so congratulations. All right, why? Just looking for speculation right now. Why did the ball make it down first?
Because Van has more areas to roll down on.
More air, what do you mean by more area to roll down on?
Like, the stuff, I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
There just seemed to be more area for, like, the ball can, you know, go to the side or whatever, and still be able to roll down, but the cylinder can't.
Ah, okay. Let me take one more shot to see if I can find a better board. Just to eliminate part of that. Let's find out if this works in a better direction. Roughly straight. Yeah, the ball cannot be tamed. All right, so heavier and the fact that it can ramble more and still make it down?
Maybe another is that air can't get inside of it. Air can get inside of this.
I think we can safely say that they're not moving fast enough for air resistance to be significant here. If we were going a much longer distance, then yeah, definitely that's going to start to make a difference. Thus, if you watch Olympic cycling, so where they used to have basically wheels with spokes, and then at some point they went to, yeah, basically solid wheels.